My son looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Mom, you're too old to live with us. Find a room to rent somewhere." His wife stood behind him, nodding with her arms crossed, a satisfied smirk on her face. I had just sold my house to help them buy their dream home. I had nowhere else to go. But what they didn't know was that I had kept one secret, one document they never found, and that document would change everything. I'm glad you're here with me. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. I spent 38 years building a life I was proud of. My name is Ruth, and at 67 years old, I thought I understood how the world worked. I thought I knew what family meant. My husband, Harold, and I raised our son, Michael, in a modest 3-bedroom house in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We weren't wealthy, but we were comfortable. We saved every spare dollar. We invested wisely when we could. We paid off our mortgage 11 years early. Harold worked as an electrician for the same company for 31 years. I was a bookkeeper at a local accounting firm for 28 years. We were simple people with simple dreams. When Harold passed away 4 years ago from a sudden heart attack, I inherited everything we'd built together. The house, valued at $285,000. Our savings account with $142,000. His pension that paid me $1,800 monthly. A small investment portfolio worth about $95,000. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough for me to live comfortably, travel occasionally, and maybe leave something meaningful behind for Michael and his family. Michael had always been a good son, or so I thought. He called every Sunday without fail. He visited on holidays with his wife, Denise, and their 2 children, Lily and Thomas, now 12 and 9. We had traditions. Christmas Eve dinner at my house. Easter egg hunts in my backyard. Summer barbecues where Harold used to grill his famous ribs. After Harold died, Michael seemed more attentive than ever. He checked on me constantly. He helped with repairs around the house. He brought the grandchildren over for weekend visits. I thought he was being a devoted son. I thought he was grieving alongside me. I helped them whenever I could, babysitting the kids 3 times a week so Denise could work her real estate job, a $15,000 gift when they needed a new roof, another $8,000 when Thomas needed braces and their dental insurance wouldn't cover it, $5,000 for Lily's private school tuition one semester when money was tight. I never kept track. That's what mothers do. We give without counting. The first crack appeared about 18 months ago. Michael called me on a Tuesday evening, his voice strained. They needed $25,000 urgently. A business opportunity, he said. A friend was selling his share of a landscaping company, and Michael could buy in at a discount. It would change their lives. I didn't hesitate. I transferred the money the next day, but something nagged at me. When I asked Denise about the landscaping business at our next family dinner, her face went blank. "What landscaping business?" she asked, confused. Michael jumped in quickly. "I told you, Mom, it fell through. The deal didn't work out." "Oh," I said, "I'm sorry to hear that. Will you be able to return the investment?" His eyes shifted. "These things take time, Mom. Don't worry about it." But the damage was done. I saw the lie forming in real time. I started paying closer attention, really paying attention, The way Denise's face hardened whenever I mentioned money. The way Michael steered every conversation toward my house, my savings, my future plans. The casual suggestions about how big houses are so hard to maintain alone, and how I must get lonely in all that space. Then came the comments about my age. Mom, you seem tired lately. Are you sleeping okay? You forgot Lily's birthday was last Tuesday, not Wednesday. Are you feeling all right? Maybe you should see a doctor. Memory issues can sneak up on people your age. I was 67, not 97. I ran 2 miles every morning. I read 3 books a week. I managed my own finances, did my own taxes, and could recite my Social Security number, my bank account numbers, and every medication I took without hesitation. But they kept planting seeds of doubt about my competence, seeds I didn't fully understand until much later. Then came the conversation that changed everything. It was a Saturday afternoon in March. The weather had finally warmed up after a brutal Iowa winter. I was in my garden, turning soil for spring planting, when Michael's car pulled into my driveway. He and Denise got out together, which was unusual. Denise rarely visited without the children. Mom, we need to talk to you about something important, Michael said. His voice was serious but friendly. Rehearsed, I now realize. I set down my trowel and invited them inside. I made coffee. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd served Michael breakfast for 18 years of his childhood. Mom, Michael began, we've been talking and we're worried about you. Worried about what, sweetheart? Denise leaned forward. This house is too much for you to handle alone. The maintenance, the yard work, the stairs. What if you fell? What if something happened and no one was here? I'm perfectly capable of managing my own home, I said. I've lived here for 34 years. That's exactly the problem, Denise said. You're not seeing it clearly. You're too close to it. Michael reached across the table and took my hand. Mom, we found the perfect solution. There's a beautiful new development on the other side of town. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a big backyard for the kids. It's everything we've ever wanted. That sounds lovely for you, I said, not understanding. The thing is, it's $485,000. We've been pre-approved for $300,000, but we need help with the rest. My stomach dropped. You want me to give you $185,000. Not give, Michael said quickly. Invest in our family's future. You'd sell this house, give us the difference, and come live with us. You'd have your own room. You'd be close to the grandchildren every day. Everyone wins. I sat there, processing. Sell my house. The house Harold and I built our life in. The house where I'd raised my son. The house that held every memory of my marriage. I need time to think about this, I said. Denise's smile flickered, just for a second. But I saw it. Of course, she said, take all the time you need. I thought about it for 3 weeks. I prayed about it. I talked to Harold's photograph every night, asking what he would do. The house felt emptier than ever. The silence was heavier, and Michael's words echoed in my mind, close to the grandchildren every day. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was being stubborn, clinging to the past. Maybe this was the natural progression of things. Children grow up, parents grow old, families come together. I called Michael and told him, yes. The next 6 months were a blur. I listed my house and sold it within 3 weeks for $290,000. I sorted through 34 years of memories, donating furniture, giving away Harold's tools, packing what remained into boxes. Michael rented a small storage unit for my things. I wrote them a check for $190,000, everything from the house sale after closing costs, plus a little extra from my savings. I kept $52,000 in my account for emergencies and personal expenses. Michael assured me that was more than enough. The new house was beautiful, I have to admit that. Spacious rooms, modern kitchen, a backyard with a swing set for the grandchildren. My room was on the main floor, next to a bathroom. It was small but comfortable. For 3 months, it was wonderful. The changes came gradually at first. Little comments about how I loaded the dishwasher wrong. Sighs when I asked what time dinner would be. Denise's irritation when I offered to help with the children's homework. Michael's distraction when I tried to have conversations. Mom, I'm busy. Can we talk later? Mom, Denise has a specific way she likes things done. Mom, maybe just stay in your room when we have guests over. You know how you get tired. I tried to be helpful. I cooked meals Denise threw away because the kids won't eat that. I cleaned, but I did it wrong. I watched the children, but I was too lenient or too strict or undermining their parenting. Nothing I did was right. Then came the financial requests. Mom, the property taxes are higher than we expected. Can you chip in $3,000? Mom, Lily needs a new laptop for school. It's $1,200. Mom, the HOA assessment is due. That's $800. I paid. I always paid. What else could I do? I lived in their house now. I had nowhere else to go. My $52,000 dwindled to $31,000, then to $18,000, then to $7,000, and then came the day that shattered everything. It was a Thursday morning, August, hot and humid, the way Iowa summers get. I was sitting in the living room reading a book while Denise worked from home in the kitchen. Michael had taken a rare day off. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but their voices carried. We need to talk about your mother, Denise said. I could hear the sharpness in her tone. What about her? She's been here 8 months, Michael. 8 months. She's in the way constantly. She criticizes how I raise my own children. She takes up space, and she barely has any money left. I know, but what? She gave us everything she had, and it's almost gone. What happens when it runs out completely? We'll be supporting her for the next 20 years. 20 years, Michael. There was a pause. My heart was pounding. I should have walked away. I should have announced my presence, but I couldn't move. What do you want me to do? Michael asked. She needs to go. There are rooms for rent all over the city. She has Social Security, right? And that pension from your father. She can afford a room somewhere. She's not our responsibility. She's my mother. And I'm your wife. Those kids are your children. We come first. We've always come first. You promised me, Michael. You promised this was temporary until we got on our feet. Well, we're on our feet. It's time. Another pause, longer this time. You're right, Michael said finally. I'll talk to her this weekend. I closed my book. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from something colder, something that felt like my soul cracking down the middle. I didn't wait for the weekend. That evening, when Michael came to my room to check on me, a ritual that had become increasingly rare, I was sitting on my bed, hands folded in my lap. Michael, I overheard your conversation with Denise today. His face went pale. Mom, I I'm not finished. I sold my home. I gave you nearly $200,000. I've paid for taxes, laptops, assessments, and 100 other things you've asked for. I have $7,000 left to my name. And now you want me to leave? He stood in my doorway, silent. Say it, I said. Say what you told your wife you would say. He took a breath, straightened his shoulders, and I watched my son transform into a stranger. Mom, you're too old to live with us. It's not working. You need to find a room to rent somewhere. Denise and I discussed it, and this is what's best for everyone. Denise appeared behind him, arms crossed, that satisfied smirk on her face, nodding. Best for everyone, I repeated, including the mother who sacrificed everything for you. Don't be dramatic. You'll be fine. You have your Social Security, Dad's pension. You're not helpless. I have $7,000, Michael. $7,000. Where exactly am I supposed to go? That's not our problem. We have our own family to think about. I looked at my son, really looked at him, and I didn't recognize him. I see, I said quietly. Then I suppose I'll need to make arrangements. Michael nodded, relieved that I wasn't fighting. Good. We're thinking by the end of the month. That gives you 3 weeks. He walked away. Denise followed. I heard them laughing about something in the kitchen a few minutes later. I sat there until midnight. Then I opened my bedside drawer and pulled out a folder I had hidden there 8 months ago. The folder contained documents they thought I had handed over with everything else, but I hadn't. The next morning, I called my old friend Margaret Holloway. We'd worked together at the accounting firm for 15 years before she retired. She'd become an attorney specializing in elder law after her own mother went through something similar. Ruthie, she said when she heard my voice, it's been too long. How are you? I need your help, Margaret. I need it urgently. I told her everything. The sale of my house, the $190,000 check, the gradual extraction of my remaining savings, the conversation I'd overheard, the ultimatum. Margaret was quiet for a long moment. Ruth, what you're describing sounds like financial elder abuse, undue influence, possibly fraud depending on how they convinced you to sell. Can anything be done? I gave them the money willingly. Under what circumstances? You said they'd been suggesting you were confused, forgetful, possibly having memory issues. Were those suggestions part of how they convinced you to sell? I thought about it. The constant comments about my competency, the manufactured worry about my ability to live alone, the solution they'd presented so perfectly, so reasonably. Yes, I said slowly, I think they were. And the understanding was that you'd live with them indefinitely, correct? In exchange for the money? Yes, Michael said it would be my home too, that I'd be close to the grandchildren, that everyone would win. Then we have an oral contract, at minimum, possibly an enforceable agreement. And their attempt to evict you now after taking your assets, that changes everything. There's something else, I said, something they don't know about. Here's what Michael and Denise never discovered. When Harold died, our house wasn't the only property in our estate. 30 years ago, Harold's father had left us a small property, 2 acres with a cabin on the edge of town. We'd used it for fishing trips and weekend getaways when Michael was young. But as Harold's health declined and life got busy, we'd stopped going. Michael seemed to forget it existed. I never sold it. I never mentioned it. When I agreed to sell my primary residence, they assumed I was giving them everything. I let them believe that. The property was now worth $180,000, according to a recent appraisal. The cabin was small but solid. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a functioning kitchen. It needed work, but it was livable. More importantly, it was mine. Completely and legally mine, with no mortgage and no connection to anything I'd given Michael. That property changes your situation entirely, Margaret said. You have a place to go. You have assets they don't know about. And most importantly, you have leverage. What kind of leverage? The kind that gets your money back, or at least makes them think twice about throwing their mother onto the street. Margaret came to Cedar Rapids that weekend. We met at her hotel room away from Michael and Denise's surveillance. She brought her paralegal, David, and a stack of papers that made my head spin. Here's what we're going to do, Margaret said. First, I need you to document everything, every payment you've made since moving in, every check, every transfer, bank statements, receipts, anything that shows the pattern. I have most of it. I've always kept careful records. Good. Second, we need to establish a paper trail of their verbal promises. Did anyone else witness their guarantee that you could live with them permanently? I thought about it. My neighbor, Betty Patterson, she was at the house when Michael made the offer. She heard him say I'd always have a home with them. Perfect. We'll get her statement. Third, we're going to have you evaluated by a geriatric psychiatrist, someone independent who can document that you're mentally competent and always have been. That counters any claim they might make that you weren't in your right mind when you gave them the money. They'll say I was confused. Let them try. Your tax returns, your financial records, your book club notes, your volunteer work at the library, everything proves you're as sharp as you've ever been. I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. I spent the next 2 weeks preparing, quietly, carefully. I printed bank statements at the public library. I wrote down every request they'd made, every payment I'd given. I scheduled my psychiatric evaluation for a day, when Michael and Denise would both be at work. The evaluation lasted 3 hours. Dr. Evelyn Walsh was thorough and kind. She asked me questions about my history, my finances, my relationships. She administered cognitive tests that felt almost insultingly simple. At the end, she looked at me with something like admiration. Mrs. Patterson, you're one of the sharpest 67-year-olds I've met. Your memory is excellent. Your reasoning is sound. There's absolutely no indication of cognitive decline. Will you put that in writing? I'll put it in a detailed report. Whatever you need it for, you have my full support. I thanked her. Then I went back to my son's house and waited. The end of the month approached. Michael reminded me twice that I needed to finalize my plans. Denise started leaving apartment listings on the kitchen counter, rooms for rent in neighborhoods I'd never heard of, prices that would consume my entire Social Security check with nothing left over. This one looks nice, she said one morning, pointing to a listing. $500 a month. Shared bathroom, but you'd have your own space. Thank you for looking, I said. I'll consider it. What I was actually considering was very different. 3 days before my eviction deadline, Michael and Denise sat me down for what they called a final conversation. Mom, have you found a place yet? Michael asked. Not yet. His jaw tightened. Mom, we've been very patient. We gave you 3 weeks. If you don't have somewhere to go, we'll have to... To what? I asked calmly. Call the police? Force me out onto the street? If necessary. I nodded slowly. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out an envelope. Before you do that, I think you should read this. Michael opened the envelope. Inside was a letter from Margaret's law firm on official letterhead. I watched his face as he read. The color drained away. What is this? He whispered. That's a formal demand for the return of $197,000, plus interest. The money I transferred to you under false pretenses. The letter also outlines potential criminal charges for financial elder abuse, fraud, and undue influence. Denise grabbed the letter from his hands. Her eyes went wide. You can't do this. You gave us that money willingly. I gave you that money under the understanding that I would have a permanent home with you, an understanding you're now violating. Additionally, according to my attorney, the pattern of your behavior, questioning my competence, isolating me, extracting my assets, fits the legal definition of elder financial abuse. This is ridiculous, Michael said. No court would. There's also the matter of my psychological evaluation, I continued. Dr. Evelyn Walsh has documented in detail that I am and have always been mentally competent. So if you're planning to claim I was confused when I gave you the money, that won't work. Silence. And one more thing, I said. I have a witness. Betty Patterson heard you promise me a permanent home. She's willing to testify. Denise's face had gone from white to red. You've been planning this. You've been planning this the whole time. No, I said. I spent 8 months hoping I was wrong about you, hoping my son wasn't capable of doing this to his own mother. But you've made your intentions very clear. So now I'm making mine clear too. I stood up. I'll be out by the end of the week, not because you're forcing me, but because I choose to leave. I have somewhere to go, somewhere you know nothing about, and my attorney will be in touch regarding the money. I walked to my room and closed the door. They didn't sleep that night. I heard them arguing until 3 a.m. The next morning, Michael came to my door. His eyes were red. He looked smaller somehow, like a child caught stealing. Mom, can we talk about this? Maybe we can work something out. There's nothing to work out, Michael. You told me I was too old to live with you. You and your wife decided I was a burden to discard. Those were your choices. Now you get to live with the consequences. We didn't mean it that way. Yes, you did. I heard every word, and so did my attorney. He stared at me for a long moment. Then something ugly flickered across his face. Fine. You want to play it that way? We'll get our own lawyer. We'll prove you gave us that money as a gift. No strings attached. Do that, I said calmly. Make sure to mention to your lawyer that you've been withdrawing cash from my account without authorization. Oh, you didn't think I knew about that. The $3,000 last November, the $2,500 in February. I thought it was Michael at first, but the withdrawals happened when he was at work. The bank's ATM cameras will show exactly who made those withdrawals. Denise appeared in the doorway behind him. Her face was ashen. That was for household expenses, she stammered. Those household expenses